Welcome to Bookworms. I'm your host, Joe, and this December we got our last bonus episode, and I'm here with our favorite guest host, Becky.
Hello.
So, Becky, I was told you have a discussion to talk about.
Well, yes. I've read many a book, just not your books.
Yes, and you won't join officially on our podcast to read our books and make us read your books, so...
It's hard enough to get the two of you in the same room.
Well,
by adding my books to the chaos, we would never get anywhere.
we would get everywhere. What are you talking about?
Somewhere.
So, what book did you want to talk about?
It is called Come Fly the World. It is by Julia Cooke, and it is about Pan Am stewardesses in the 50s through the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
And I don't know why, really. This summer, you were off doing like mountain things, and I was like, you know what? Seems like a really fun thing, not being here.
Well, why were you thinking that? What's wrong with mountains and
It was
hiking
on the
and stuff?
wrong side of the mountain. I was not in my space. The hotel was weird.
It was a very nice hotel. Thank you very much.
It was still weird.
Very nice hotel.
It can be weird and nice at the same time. And I don't know. I was seeing a lot on like social media clips from I think it was called Pan Am. It was a TV show with Christina Ricci. I think it only lasted one season. I think Margot Robbie was in it. And I'd also been seeing a lot of clips for Mad Men, which I have never seen and I've wanted to see. And you're always like, meh, until I told you that Christina Hendricks was in it, and you're like, oh. But by that time, it was too late.
Oh well.
So what?
So
Now I'm perturbed by you
I do that. What can I say?
all the time.
Pretty much. It's my special talent.
Yeah. So finish your thought there. Well.
No, you go ahead. We're waiting on you. This is your show today.
Does anybody need him? He's free to a good home. So
Help me.
So I also this summer got the book app Libby, which might be very dangerous because now I don't actually have to go to the library. I can go to the library on the tablet or the phone, which is dangerous, as my Libby holds will tell you.
As we've seen with your 111 books so far.
I think I'm at like 118, aren't I?
When Alex and I checked this earlier in the week, you were at 111 on Goodreads.
Oh.
Sorry,
well, that's
not
poopy.
sorry.
Go to Storygraph. It's so much better. Anyway, so
Does Storygraph do pages and all
it
that
does.
stuff?
It's this whole little like nerddom there. I love it.
Okay, well, we'll have to think
Support
about
BIPOC
this.
women. Anyway, so Come Fly the World is about Pan Am stewardesses, like I said, and it starts out glamorous because back then, like, flying was a thing, right? And so they had to be, it was like the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders before they were the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, so let's start with the vibes, right? World War II has ended and everyone is back and people have some disposable income, not a whole lot, but some. And people are traveling for work and for fun and whatnot. And so there's a whole bunch of airlines, right? It wasn't this like you have 4 now and maybe Spirit's still there. I don't know if Spirit still exists.
I don't know, but yeah, okay. So we got
So
a whole bunch of airlines.
And so if you look at the old Pan Am ads, it's very much like the Cowboys cheerleader thing. Like there's these beautiful women in their uniforms with the globe insignia on them, and they're like showing you these different parts of the world. Like there's places in Europe, there's places in Asia, in the continent of Africa, and like just gloriousness, right?
Right.
Okay. People were wearing suits and pearls on a plane. They were not wearing Crocs.
Well, because those weren't invented yet.
And nobody had random emotional like support squirrels or whatever snack-sized dog is being carried around. You weren't eating Chipotle at Terminal C, and like it was a big deal to get on a plane.
Expensive is what you're saying.
But not as expensive as it is now.
I think if you look at inflation, you'd be told otherwise.
I don't know. So anyway, so Pan Am was sort of like the creme de la creme. It meant sophistication and it meant worldliness and
And hot women.
Well, yes, there's always that sort of little thing there. And it's kind of wild really to think about the evolution of flying in and of itself when we think about flying today, which is sort of like The Amazing Race and Survivor were put in a tumbler and just sort of spat back out like a Yahtzee die.
Okay.
You have nothing on
I
that end.
don't know where we're going with this.
You could just be like, oh yeah, that's right. I have to be at the airport
Oh,
4
yeah, that's
hours
right.
early.
That's right. I have to be at the airport 4 hours early because that's what they recommend.
They do not. Anyway, so Pan Am cultivated this illusion of fantasy, right? And a lot of it centered on the stewardesses. Today, they're not called stewardesses, they're called flight attendants, and they're not just female. They're male, female, everyone in between. They are not just blonde and white and whatnot. They are everything in between.
Everything between blonde and white. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
They're the entire spectrum.
I get it.
Sometimes I want to throw water on you. Anyway, so, and these women had to be beautiful and have this sort of je ne sais quoi air about them. And they were supposed to live this glamorous lifestyle. But of course, reality is,
it's not as fun as it looks.
right, it's mixed. And so, yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you think you would have been a good candidate if you had been female in the 60s, 70s, and whatnot?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm not blonde, and I don't take well to authority, and yeah.
Well, me too. I would not have gotten very, very, very well either, because there's lots of different things. Not thugs. They kind of acted like badasses, but we'll get to that. So there were strict things that had to be done, like they had to look clean and crisp and whatnot. There was a weight limit. They had weekly weigh-ins, literally like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I'm seeing a lot of that on TikTok right now. It needs to go away. So you also were not supposed to be married, and you were not supposed to have kids. There was almost like a ban, and so women would try and sort of hide those things that if they did. And so, yeah.
Imagine it's hard to be married to a flight attendant just because they are drop of a hat going anywhere in the country potentially, and they're always away. And
well, I wouldn't think it's a drop of a hat. I think they were fairly scheduled from what it read.
Okay, because I've heard, at least from what I've heard on my podcasts that have covered these things, at least modern now, it's because they're so short staffed. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna call you in whether it's on your day off or not, and you have a schedule, but it could just be changed at the drop of a hat because we are short people and we need you now.
From my understanding, there were situations like that every once in a while, but the norm was usually like you had your home base, and that could have been anywhere that Pan Am had a hub. And yeah, you might be picked up for some random shifts, but most of the time, like, you had a set number of flights and whatnot because they wanted you to look crisp and pretty. And who can be crisp and pretty if you haven't slept in a week? Except for our kids.
So I was going to say, that doesn't matter. They demand that you just do that, and doesn't matter your schedule or sleep schedule.
Yes, that's true. So yes. Flying was this whole thing, and it also, being a stewardess, sort of broke the traditional bonds of what women were supposed to be able to do, because women weren't supposed to travel by themselves, especially to some of these foreign countries, because, oh my goodness, we can't do that. Meanwhile, we also at this time cannot get a credit card. We also cannot get birth control unless our hubbies are like, yes, they may not have kids anymore. I am okay with that. Anyway, Pan Am, though, was like, yeah, women don't travel alone unless you're one of us. And so that's the contradiction that is like in the entire book. I can see you have thoughts. Be good.
Well, what makes you think I'm going to be naughty?
Because I know you.
Okay.
Because I know you. So once you get past the first few chapters of like some of these flight attendants and why they wanted to do it, like some of them were fresh out of college, some of them were just out of high school, and they were like, what do I do with my life? Some of them were in marriages, and they're like, I want to help our family, which, okay, cool. But then, like, the curtain is sort of peeled back and you get into some of the nitty gritty. These women were doing just really incredibly demanding high stakes work. While
like
looking,
what?
while look pretty. They had to handle medical emergencies. They had to fulfill the expectations of perfect customer service. There were international tensions to think of at that time. Right, because if you were based in like Asia, you would need to know all of the conflicts that were happening and who some of these top people were that were going to possibly get on your plane and things like that. You had to deal with drunk passengers, and not just regular drunk passengers, but drunk passengers who were probably like a CEO of a company and thought that they could do no wrong. Fucking dicks. Sorry, Mom. You had to deal with crying passengers and confused passengers, people who had never flown before. And yes, you still have to deal with that, and that is chaos, but there's not this sort of like one-on-one attention that the Pan Am stewardesses would sort of give.
That's because we fly economic. We don't fly first class. I'm sure if we were in the front of the plane, it would be a little different.
I don't know if it really mattered back then because there was just one thing.
Yeah, I said they didn't have it was for rich people only. It was all first class, especially Pan Am, as you were saying. They modeled on their wealth, the wealthy customers, not general public. And I mean, not to be too rude, but it seems like I guess I'm struggling to see why is what they're doing so high stress. Because it just feels like that's just common business practices to be able to do all that stuff for customer service things.
Well, that's what it was. They were dealing with all of that stuff. They were being the emotional support squirrel, and they were doing it in heels.
Again, I don't see how that's different from, say, going into, say, the office and becoming like the Mad Men secretaries and whatnot.
Because you are one of those Mad Men.
Sexy and adorable.
Dear God, John Draper, no. Flight attendants today and back then deserve medals because the things they see and the things that they deal with, and that's like the whole other side. That's like a whole island on social media. People behaving badly on airplanes. WTF. Yeah. Anyway, some of it is there's also this cultural expectation that a stewardess could handle all of these things because she's a woman, right? Women are supposed to be pleasant and calm and soothing, all while internally screaming, "Get the fuck out of my face." Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, man. They were also held to these high beauty standards, of course, and one would think that they were trying to be like Miss America for all this stuff. So, yes. So the glamour of it is pretty cool. You get to travel. You're exposed to the world. You're independent because you not necessarily a flop house, but you're in these far gone cities and you're anywhere from like 18 to 26 years old. Women's lives were so controlled that this was like a time they could just go and do things. And did they do things? But at the same time, it was also very controlling just because of everything that they had to do and represent. Thank goodness there wasn't social media back then. I don't know if it would have worked as well. It was sort of like they might have girl bossed too close to the sun, you know?
No.
So I just really like this book. Anyway, these women, they weren't necessarily like kicking ass and taking names in ways, and they weren't marching or writing manifestos in the way that people of that time period were in different movements and whatnot, but they were still living lives that pushed boundaries. And
would you think they were more conservative or more liberal in their beliefs? I mean, 'cause it is like you're saying, they weren't doing the big movements, but they were breaking out of the mold. But at the same time, the breaking out of the mold was going into this other mold where they were still doing the traditional type things around men, if you get my drift.
I think more of them, we would have what we would consider to be liberal or progressive ideology. Back then it was probably more centrist, because they saw some things. I forget her name. Trudy? No, it wasn't Trudy. Anyway, one of them saw combat in Vietnam as a commercial airline stewardess and was just sort of like, what is happening here? Right? One of them, that stewardess went to like airfields out in the boonies, and then one of them helped with Saigon, like trying to get people out of Saigon. Mm-hmm. So they saw things, and then they would come back here to the States after having all of that freedom, being able to go wherever, hang out with whomever, and they come here, they can't get a credit card. They can't get a loan. And God forbid they have sex outside of marriage.
As if it's a pilot that they're hoping to snag.
I don't even think that would work. So they lived with roommates instead of their parents. They didn't have a man. They had a career. They saved money for themselves. They saw the world. And even today, like if you talk to people, that is not the expectation, particularly for women. If you are a young woman and you're like, I want to go travel the world, and you're 22 years old, everyone is like, you're stupid. You need to go to school. You need to get a job. You need to get married and have babies. Like there's still that trajectory, which is dumb.
Oh, I guess I feel like most boys, if they say I want to go travel, they're also like, no, you got to go to school and get a job. So I guess
you're missing two important things there.
Have babies. Well, I
and
can't
getting
have
married.
babies. And
While you may not physically be able to have babies, sir, you are half of the problem of making them. You and your agenda. Anyway, so it was just really different for them. They challenged a lot of these things. So, the rules were like, you can't be married. Well, they challenged it and they won. They challenged the weight requirements and they won. They challenged age discrimination because there was an age range, and I forget exactly what it said, but basically if they found out you were older than that, you were booted out, which of course is BS.
And protected by the Constitution, or at least it is now.
But not for women.
But it is.
How?
It's if you're, I forget which law it is, but like Anti-Discrimination Act there, if you're listed as one of the groups, which age is in there and women are in there, they can't fire you for that. Granted, it's easy to find a way to fire you around that, well, even if everyone knows it's that, but there is that protection. There are groups that are still unprotected, yes. But
is that in the Constitution, though, or is that just a law?
I believe it's a law, an act. Federal law.
There you go. Because it's not in the Constitution. The Constitution only has one specific amendment that deals with women. One. Because none of us no Congress has been able to pass the Freedom for Women Act or whatever to at least make us like part of the Constitution. Nope, your opinion is not needed.
I was just gonna say, let's get back to the book now.
No. So they broke the norm. They were part of the early workforce gender equality movement, and so they did a lot of pretty cool things. They were like, we can look cute and do things, and they did. So they did play a role in the Vietnam War. Most people aren't really aware of that particular thing, but Pan Am was one of the commercial flight airlines that took soldiers in and out of Vietnam, and the stewardesses were often some of the last friendly faces the soldiers would see before they saw combat. There's stories in the book about them comforting terrified 18-year-olds and calming soldiers down during turbulence because they were having PTSD that they were being shot at or bombed, things like that. And that's a lot for not having any training.
True.
Then there was what was it called? It was called Baby Lift, Operation Baby Lift. So it was this chaotic evacuation of orphans. This is the Saigon thing where they were trying to get all of these babies to safety. Now we could go into the ethics of whether or not that should have happened or should have not have happened because of the whole horrible adoption, right? Like babies for money thing. But that's the choice that was made and whatnot. And a lot of these stewardesses volunteered to go into these combat zones, these flight areas where they could be shot down. And they risked their lives for these men and these babies and these people just to like be good people. And that's not in the ads, right? That's not in your ads that you see of the people in their pearls and their suits. It's just, anyway, don't give me that look. You're looking at me like, wow. It's not really talked about how much frontline work that they did in the humanitarian work. There was one story where the stewardess was working on a flight that had, I believe it was Vietnam, maybe it was a Cambodian general, but like a high uppity up, and they took on fire. They had to land, get a new plane, like this whole thing. And I don't know, it's sort of like when you become a teacher, you don't actually sign up to be shot, but that's just sort of assumed now. And so it's sort of interesting to think that when you sign up to be a flight attendant, a stewardess, you don't generally think like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to a battle zone.
Were they volunteering to go to these areas, or was just Pan Am saying, we're sending you here?
They volunteered, but still to be put in that position where you can volunteer as a commercial flight attendant because that's part of your area's route is still just...
Okay.
You have thoughts, and I don't know.
Well, I guess I was wondering, does this book have the format of this book tell you individual stories of different stewardesses that were doing amazing things or dealing with big things, or is there more of a narrative going through like a timeline of Pan Am or what?
Yes, all of it. So there's little narratives about some of the stewardesses. It's a lot like the book that I read by Shannon, I forget her last name, about women in World War II, where they focused, like every chapter sort of had a main character, more or less, and then through that main character, you learn about Pan Am.
Okay. How much of a time range does this book have from beginning to, like, that they're covering? Is it just the 60s and 70s? Is it from the start of Pan Am to its downfall?
So most of the stories take place in the 60s and 70s. It gets into a little bit of how Pan Am was created and then how it fell, but not too much. It's really focused more just on the employees and what they did.
Was it going into like the crazy drug parties and after parties that they would get into?
It did not go into detail, but it did tell us that they had fun.
Okay.
They had fun. If only, right?
Sure.
So yeah, some of the stories are narratives. Like Hazel is one of them. She is one of the first Black stewardesses, and she of course had to navigate racism not only from passengers but colleagues, and she built this entirely incredible life based on travel and confidence and whatnot. There's Lynn that focuses on her Vietnam flights. She was one of the people that volunteered to fly into Saigon and just was like, I am here. What is happening in this area? There's Tori, who was an adventure seeker. She had a super traditional upbringing. Like boys only did boy things and girls only did girl things. And so she was sort of like the black sheep in a way. And her story shows a lot of the emotional toll that this can take. So like the jet lag and not having a support system nearby and what it's like to date in other countries, because here in the United States, there's different expectations than there are elsewhere, right? And it talks about some of their friends and things like that.
The isolation of these women, were they basically only really friends with each other, their fellow co-workers, or were they able to have lives outside Pan Am, like being still friends with the people they grew up with or visiting family, or were they basically just on their own completely?
They were able to go home every once in a while and see friends and family, but it would be so different because, think at 22 and 23 what we were doing, right? Like we were babies and getting married.
And we had also traveled across the country.
Okay, but had we really? Anyway.
Yes, I was across the country. I grew up in New Hampshire and went to college in Alaska. That's across the country. Yes. So I got out, saw the world.
No.
No. You're saying Alaska's not part of the world?
I'm saying that maybe you got on a plane and you went from one spot to the other. It's not like you really got out there. Right? Like you did not take a road trip from New Hampshire to Alaska.
But that's what we're saying these women were doing. They were taking a plane to point A to point B.
But then they lived there. So if you lived in...
I lived in Alaska for... so how is that? I guess...
Well, if you stopped interrupting me. So if you were stationed in Asia, and let's say you were stationed in Hong Kong, and during your time off, you could easily go to Thailand, Cambodia, China, Mongolia, Japan. Whereas here, yes, we can go to different states, but all of the states more or less have the same expectations for specific genders. And they were outside of that. So to come back here, there was different experiences, right? It's a different experience think about people that didn't get married until later. They had an entirely different experience. Or think about the people we know who are married and don't have kids. They have an entirely different experience, and it's hard for them to relate to us with ours. Anyway.
Fine, I'll not belabor this point.
Oh, believer. Look at that. Him using big words and he didn't joke.
Keep moving here.
So nowadays, from my understanding with flight attendants, while they're not necessarily have super strict, like everyone needs to be like cookie cutter kind of thing, there are influencer beauty standards, right? Like you still have to look nice. And if you take it off the plane, like there are kids at my school, there are kids our kids' age who are going into Ulta and Sephora and they're getting the Korean face masks to keep their baby soft skin even more baby soft, which is why? Professional appearance, I don't know. I think it's very different nowadays, right? What it means.
I think, it's evolving, but I think for certain industries, it hasn't changed. I mean, if you have a uniform, you have a uniform. I mean, I guess like the tech companies have kind of changed what professional look is with the T-shirts and the polo shirts and whatnot. But
very true. Some things that haven't changed. Obviously, working in the service industry is a thankless job.
That is true.
If I run for president, this is my campaign right here. This is what I'm going to run on that I will not win on.
Oh boy, here we go.
I think that everyone, once they have graduated high school, or if they drop out, whichever comes first, they need to spend 1 to 2 years in the service industry, either being a hostess or a host, a server, a hotel clerk, or a substitute teacher, or something like that. So they learn how to function as human beings. That is my platform. That's my only platform.
Well, then.
Someone will vote for me.
Okay.
My mommy. She agrees with me.
Yeah, but she doesn't like your other politics. You're just too liberal.
I didn't say I had any. That's my only platform. That's what I'm pushing through lame duck Congress by executive order.
Anyways, moving on.
Their big things is that the way that they talk about travel back then was that it was this sort of glamorous escape. And yeah, there were headaches. And if you missed your plane, it wasn't as easy to figure out how to fix that mess. But today it's so chaotic, and they nickel and dime you. You want to bring a bag, just a one bag that's not overweight, that's $25, or it used to be. Maybe it's $50 now. I don't know. You want to bring a carry-on and a suitcase for one person? Okay, that's an extra $50. You want to be able to pick your seat? That's $50 per person, because heaven forbid a family wants to sit together.
I don't know. I could imagine putting a small children in random seats and just let the airplane companies have to deal with the complaints.
That should qualify him as needing help. You're going to sit these babies next to random people.
It's in a closed, safe environment.
Is it that safe? Nope, not this conversation. Not here. And I don't know. Getting on a plane feels like I volunteered as tribute in the Hunger Games sometimes.
Why?
Just trying to get to my seat. And then the crotchety people that are like, you're in my seat. It's like, no, ma'am. No, sir. This is my seat. See, it says 32C.
People sell that to you? Usually they look at me and they're just like, nope, never mind. I'll find another seat.
Yes, well, no, they don't. So, anyway, do you have a horrible flight story?
No, I remember being young and loving flying, but then going to school in Alaska where it would be 10, 12-hour day. Not all on the plane, granted, but it was an all-day event to get from New Hampshire to Fairbanks, and then coming back from Fairbanks to New Hampshire. And after doing that round trip twice a year for 4.5 years, I just don't really like flying anymore. I just don't want to do it. It's such a...
I just want to point out to everyone that you don't like to travel, period.
I do travel. I do enjoy it.
Driving 3 hours to the beach or the 2 hours to the mountains does not count. That
Yes,
is not.
That is a vacation.
That is not it.
That is traveling.
My Midwestern soul is like, no, you have to drive at least 6 hours for it to really be a vacation.
You drive 3 hours here in New England, you've gone through 3 states.
I know. It's so tiny here. They're too big for their britches.
You're just jealous because we're so awesome out
I
here.
love to fly. I don't.
Yeah, because you weren't doing it quite as often and as long as I was.
I've flown way, way, way more often than you think. So don't even. Maybe not to Alaska.
I'm not saying that you haven't flown a lot. I'm just saying that monotonous, this time of year I have to burn another day of my life, get jet lag.
It sounds great.
No, it doesn't.
Let's do that. Let's go somewhere tropical with a beach.
Why
that would actually be nice.
Because
it's cold outside right now.
Yeah, let's go skiing.
Hell no. Hell to the no.
Whoever's taking me up for that good home, please take me skiing.
Please take him to a beach. So yeah. Anyway, so I really liked this book. It's a really interesting thing that I don't think we talk a lot about it. We're enamored by the top dogs, right? The pilots that, they fly the plane, which is really cool. And it's really, really hard. And it takes a lot of work to do that. But I always think about, I forget who told me this story. Who is the most important person at a hospital? And
it's the orderly, right? Or the nurse?
No.
The janitor?
The janitor. And in having that conversation with students at times, and they're just like, whoa. Because yes, the doctor's important. The pilot is so important. The air traffic controller, bless y'all. Y'all need a raise. You should strike. And get more money from Congress. Oh wait, never mind. Our Congress has to function first. Anyway,
okay, let's not get too political. This is why we have a episode we're not allowed to air,
and this is also why I'm not allowed to really be here most of the time. It all connects to everything. So what was I saying?
I don't know. What were you saying?
It's late at night.
That you enjoyed the book.
I did. Oh yeah, because we don't often see some of these things. Like the Sharon McMahon, that's her name. That's the one who wrote or who told me about the book about World War II. And yeah, Sharon McMahon. And I don't know, I think it's so much of our history and so much of our culture is on the backs of women, and we don't talk about it. We just sort of sweep it under the rug. We make them look like playthings or Barbie dolls in a way that we aspire to be. But these women, these Pan Am stewardesses, were doing the work. Because I don't know what I've tried to walk on a bus and I've tried to walk on an airplane, and I can't do either very gracefully, but to like give somebody a whiskey while wearing heels and a skirt and a smile, oh hell no, I would fall flat on my face and spill the whiskey.
I got nothing to say to that other than just disappointment.
You can't do much better, so don't even.
Whatever.
Heels and a skirt.
But I can do it better.
Oh. Once that family takes you to a beach, I hope they make you practice this.
You'll be jealous.
Oh, if you're on a beach, yes. So, but I know you're like, we shouldn't get too political, but I also think glamour is political. Like, especially if you have the ability to do some of these things that the women did, like it was political. It was a statement going against the grain, going against the norm of the perception of who and what it meant to be as an American woman in that time. So, yeah. I think y'all should read it because it's pretty cool. And then after this, I still wanted to see that Pan Am series, and I still want to watch Mad Men, even though I know I'm going to be annoyed AF with all of the bullshit that men put those women through, because I've seen the clips. I can say that. Christina Hendricks was probably not paid enough.
Okay, there. Settle down.
I'm gonna fight you.
So yeah, so you had mentioned the World War II book of women doing amazing things. Are there any other books that you've read like this that are similar?
Not books. Sharon McMahon has a book called The Small and the Mighty, which is a similar thing. She also is doing her podcast is called The Preamble, and she's doing sort of a peek behind the curtain of what some of our first ladies were doing while their counterparts were in the office, which is interesting. So like Abigail Adams was, really doing the whole like, we need to inoculate people thing. And I just finished a book about the amendments to the Constitution and how up through the 1800s, women were not part of that conversation. And I forget her name off the top of my head. But there was a woman that was basically like, you can't do anything to me because there's nowhere in the law that actually talks about me, which was pretty kick butt.
What profession would you want to read about that's kind of behind the scenes that you would like to learn more? It's the similar format to this book. Is there any other professions out there that would interest you?
I know there's a book out there somewhere that's about some of the first women who went to medical school here in the United States, which I think would be pretty cool because when I was younger, I loved Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. As problematic as that show was and is, I think that's pretty cool.
Okay.
I don't know. The book I read, it wasn't set up like this, but I read the book The Six about the first 6 female astronauts, which was delightful.
Yeah.
I would like to read a book about the last Hawaiian queen. Okay. Because the United States did them dirty. Yep. And what's her face? Nell. Nope. That's Samuel Pepys. The one who went into the psychiatric unit, even though she didn't need to be, she was fine. But the men in charge were just like, nope, you're wandering womb. And I think there are other populations that need to be explored, like westward expansion. I read this wonderful YA novel about this kid named Will who was going from Texas to, maybe it was Oklahoma, to Kansas, right? Where's the Sooners? Is Kansas the Sooner state? Anyway, basically his journey there to mark land for his family, because we don't often think about that when we talk about westward expansion and manifest destiny and things like that.
Okay. Any other comments you have?
Read more books. Read banned books.
Very good.
Remember, we believe in a free Narnia.
Hey, so thanks for listening to Kindle Bookworms. Thank you, Becky, very much for coming on here. If you want to get a hold of us, you can. KindleBookworms@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at Kindle Bookworms. We're on Instagram at Kindle Bookworms. You can DM us on either of those. If you want to leave a rating on Spotify or Apple, that would be great. If you want to leave a comment on Spotify, that would be great. We love reading your comments. We are on YouTube, audio only. We do also occasionally get comments there. We'll try to check them out if we catch them. Becky, do you want to talk?
You're missing things. What about your Medium?
I was going to say, Becky, do you want to sell Alex's books for him?
Oh, Alex has books on Amazon.
Link will be in the description.
And you should do that.
You remember the book titles?
There's something about Ragnarok and the Destroyer.
Yeah, you got the Destroyer. Paul Plumpton versus Ragnarok.
Paul Plumpton. Yeah. I'm sorry. I can't remember Paul. Like what? I think of Paul and then I think of Jesus and his friends.
You don't think of Dune?
No, I don't. I honestly don't. That's the whole PTSD thing. I'm sorry. And I just read the first, 3 books?
First one.
No.
Yeah, there's 6 of them and you read 1.
Biscuits. Oh my gosh. But anyway, you should read Alex's books and buy them because it will make him happy.
Yeah, and he needs to feed his kitty.
Yes,
kitten.
That just sounded dirty. I'm not going to lie. We got almost all the way through without being dirty. And you have a Medium. Does Alex have a Medium?
Alex has not got his Medium yet. He is dawdling as usual. But yes, I have a Medium and Substack where I post book reviews on books we haven't read, or we have read, but that we're not doing on the podcast. But if we get 100 reads on the Medium, because that seems to be the more popular one, Alex will have to read that book and discuss it with me.
I think that I just lost my thought about Medium. Oh, biscotti.
Okay.
Oh, dwaddle. You said dwaddle and not dawdle. Anyway.
Is there a difference?
Yes. Dwaddle. What? Is there a difference? Oh my goodness.
What is dwaddle versus dawdle?
Well, dawdle means to not do things quickly, just to mosey about. And I don't know what dwaddle is.
I thought that was to mosey about and not do things quickly.
Oh my gosh. No. No. Make it stop.
So yeah, we're hosted by Podbean. I haven't been mentioning that one recently.
For shame. They're going to kick you off.
No, I pay them enough money that they're going to keep me on. They don't want to lose my account.
Oh.
I get nothing back from them, so. Okay. Anyways, I believe that is everything. I said thank you, Becky, for
your ramblings.
I hope I didn't offend you too badly.
It's so late. I'm easily offended.
Okay.
It's been a long day.
Well, thanks for listening. Catch you again next month.
Kitcha? What is kitcha?
Catch you.
Sorry.
Catch you again next month for our season 2 wrap up.
They've made it 2 seasons, everybody.
2 seasons, almost 3 whole years.
Send them some suggestions so he'll stop talking to me.
And if you want to come guest host, we will talk to you, and you can talk about books. So yeah,
you could talk to me about books, not them. Talk to me.
That works too. Okay, we're out of here.
I read a book about home economics. That was pretty cool too.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe I'll make a Medium and just list my books to go with my book journal.
You can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, we're leaving now.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, worms.